Order, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3, establish a quorum. Julie, do we have a quorum? Okay, item number 4, approval of agenda. Is there any change of sequence or removal of items?
No, there's not.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda then as posted.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 is our announcements from our student representatives.
All right, so as most of you know, not last week, but the week before was homecoming week. So that was really exciting. We did a lot of fun things in this school district. For example, we had our parade, which was super fun. And then we also had a large pep rally with all the other kids, which I think they really enjoyed. We really enjoyed it. And I think my personal highlight, Mr. Knott, hi to me.
You sure it's me?
I'm pretty sure. You can't see him.
My kid did pick you, so.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. So then we have some pictures from the homecoming dance, which we thought turned out very nice as well.
The boys won the homecoming game for the first time in a while, by a lot. It was a very good game, so that was really exciting. Yeah.
The one we thought went well, we thought the pep assembly was a great addition with the little kids. We thought that was a great way to get the community involved and like just see everybody, like younger and older work together. And we thought like the parade had a nice turnout because that really brought the community together. And like it's so fun to see the little kids, you know, cheering for you.
And then football won 58-0, which is great. Mr. Knott got pies again. And the parade had a nice turnout. It was really nice. We got to ride the convertibles, and we got to see all these community members wave to them with their candy. So that was really exciting.
Motion.
Yeah, you're going in first.
Okay, not everybody may know about the activity that was done with the seniors, and I believe it was 4K or 5K. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we basically had, I think it was just, I don't know if it was just seniors or, well, seniors in sports. And we had each of us get like 2 tattoos and like 2 water bottles. And we tattooed their faces and we just talked to them a little bit while we gave them a tattoo. And like, it just kind of gets them involved in like the sports and makes them excited for when they get to high school and they want to become more involved, you know, it makes them excited for that stuff.
That they gave seniors something also.
And then they gave the seniors a roll of toilet paper, which might not have been the best idea. It was super cute.
Yeah.
No, but there was some people throwing it.
You got a video on that.
Yeah, there's some people throwing it. Yeah, they had to early start the team.
So I don't think that'll happen next year.
The video was fabulous.
Yes, it was very.
And many of the young children were wearing the tattoos at the football game.
Yes,
It was so cute.
I put one on upside down.
She put it up nicely.
I said, oh, it looks great. But they don't know what to do, so.
And I think it was all the seniors, not just the
Yep.
It was
adults.
all the seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
all seniors, all 4K and 5K. It was passing of the school spirit.
That was a great idea.
That was a fabulous idea, and, yeah, I really, any community members that haven't seen the video, I would really recommend you take a look at it. It was really neat.
I did not cry, but there may have been some people that were teared up.
That's what I heard.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Okay, next, item number 6, my favorite, which is celebrations.
Yeah, so Deb, I asked Deb to pull this up hot off the presses. So what you see there is Marlis Downs and Pep Club are going to purchase, that is a 12-foot by 8-foot backdrop that'll be on like a stand that will stay in the lobby out here for folks to take pictures with it as a backdrop. So you're at a choir concert, you want to take a picture with your family. So the Pep Club is purchasing that from concession stand proceeds and donating it to the district to stay in the comments for people to take pictures. It's a neat thing to have for a backdrop, and I wanted to, Marlos just said it, they just did the requisition and it should be delivered soon, so I wanted to give kudos to the Pep Club and Marlos for all the work they do and thank them for that purchase. I think it'll get a lot of use. Volleyball team, if you hadn't heard the girls bragging when they came in, hot off the presses, volleyball team get the 1 seed for the playoffs, so they will have a first round bye and then be hosting not this week, but next week, Thursday and Saturday for regional semis and championship. Okay, and then I would like to say, echo what the girls said, but I thought the homecoming day itself was a lot of school spirit, a lot of community pride by a lot of people pulling that off. So I wanted to echo that as a celebration. I thought it was just fantastic. The whole day was fantastic, and the football team capped it off with the win that night. So those are my celebrations.
Okay, any questions from the board? Okay. Then let's move on to item number 7, the consent agenda items. A, meeting notice certification. B, regular meeting minutes of September 9th. C, special meeting minutes of October 10th. D, financial status with all of the PDFs. E, resignations and retirements. I would like to pull this item. Number 2, Deb Zidane. Where is she? She's hanging back there. After 30 years of service, Deb, you deserve retirement, but we're going to really miss you, and it's with deep gratitude on behalf of the entire school district. I guess we have to accept it, huh?
I tried, Deb, I'm not gonna lie to you, I asked him to pull it. I would echo what Mary Ann said. I don't know what I would have done the last 2.5 years here without having Deb. She's the brains behind the operation for sure. I looks. But I don't think people understand the work behind the scenes that she does and the knowledge that she has, but I wish her nothing but the best. I did ask her, is there any chance she submitted it? She said, no. So I'm gonna let it rest, but thank you, Deb, for everything.
Okay. Any other board members have any comments or thoughts? Or are you gonna wait until we have the retirement party? Okay. Then the last item on the consent agenda is the winter co-curricular coaches. Any discussion,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll second the motion.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. If there's no other discussion, I will entertain a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, information only items. District Administrator update.
So you should all have a copy of the slideshow. I am not going to go through, so I sent you a link to the community presentation. Board members, you have it. I'm not going to go through all of it. I just wanted to show you, get off of that one, please. Okay. As an update here to kind of start on this, as many of you know, I have been reacquiring my knowledge of all the side roads and countryside of Pittsville from back in the day, and attending numerous town meetings and other meetings. The yellow you see is a list of upcoming events. Over on the right from September and October is kind of what we've done, and thank you. I've been joined by some staff members and board members. I appreciate that, but been great, honestly. I would even tell you it's been stressful, but even if we weren't going to referendum, it's such a neat opportunity to get out and connect with folks and meet folks and reconnect with people. So that's a list of the places that we've been in. And yellow is upcoming, and I'll remind the board at about 7:30 tonight, I will need to head towards the town of Richfield here if we are not finished by that point because I'm on the agenda at Town of Richfield, so I wanted to kind of share that. Upcoming dates, we are going to live stream that community forum on October 28th. That will be live streamed for folks that can't attend. And then I'm going to shoot Leslie, it's a loom. I got all these young administrators showing me all these fancy new tools. It's a loom with this slideshow to be me talking through some of the slides, and then we're gonna have that posted on the website for folks to be able to kind of have an update with me getting in depth into some of the slides. So if you want to click into the slides, let's go to, I want to kind of talk to you about some of the slides that have probably been getting the most, next one there, getting the most feedback in these groups. Like, like if we were to do a survey and say, which slide really resonated with you based upon comments and follow-up emails from folks, this slide that kind of shows the revenue limit with exemptions, the disparity, that's been one that's been kind of, I think, the term used, I had an email from a community member that said it was eye-opening, was what they said after one of the meetings. This one has been something that's really resonated with folks. Debbie, we'll go to the next one. And then kind of what that means in terms of revenue for the district, what you can levy each year, which was this follow-up to that. Next one, please. Next. The mill rate comparison. This one we added, I'm gonna have you go to the next one. One more, please.
No, one more.
One more. Yeah, right here. So this is one that we had added in after folks were asking at one of the initial ones. They said, well, what does this look like historically, our mill rate, if we pass this? So that's what this chart shows. And more or less what it indicates is, as we've discussed as a board and admin team, is that if the referendum were to pass, that the mill rates would be what they were 3 years ago, in that 8 range, capping off at 8.99 in year 4. So there's been a lot of feedback based upon this slide that we added. I think after one of the 3rd or 4th meeting, we added this. Because what we've been doing is as we get questions and feedback from the community, we've added more information to this slideshow to address some of the common questions that were popping up. Next slide. This was another one that was a suggestion, was people have been asking, like, can you tell us what portion of the funding, if this is passed, goes to what? And as you can see, the purple amounts to more or less each year, the purple would be what's going to cover the existing projected budget deficit and shortfalls. And then the gold is what's going to go back into the fund balance each of those years to get us back to that 21%. So this has been appreciated, I know, because this was a question. So some of this stuff I was answering, and we said, well, let's just put a slide in there so that we have a detail. And then all of this is on the website as well, the refer to website. Next slide, please. This is kind of going over what the year 1 and then years 2 and 4. And I have had a few, I will let you know, I've had a few folks email me or reach out individually where I've met with some folks and then emailed some questions that have been asked to get in a little more into the details of the budget that we've then shared, like detailed projections with those that have asked for more detailed, like individual items. I would tell you, I do want to share with the board and the folks that are in attendance, like a great question that stemmed from this, that actually I learned something, was on the busing. We had a taxpayer ask a question about, well, we're not required by state statute to pick up kids within 2 miles of the school district, but we do in Pittsville. We pick up kids in city limits, and asked, could that be an area where we might be able to have some savings? Well, I did some follow-up with Danny Hahn and Pam, and what I discovered was back in 2009, Pittsville applied for a hazardous transportation exemption because 2 miles from the school here puts you across the highways, and it's not safe for kids, or to cross, even across 80 in town. And if you don't have adequate sidewalks, and that has to be like verified by the county sheriff has to come in and verify that plan. Well, because of that, we actually get aided on that. So we actually receive aid for picking. So not only is it good for the kids and safe for the kids, we get aided on it. And as Danny said, we didn't have to add any bus routes. It's just the bus was going to come in and pick them up. I didn't know that, and because her asking the question, finding the answer, I actually learned something new that I've been able to share with folks about the transportation piece. So that was just something that came up. So a lot of these have been very informative, even for me, answering questions and doing research for folks, so. Okay, I would entertain any questions any of the board members may have, either about the forums or any other information, but I just wanted to kind of go through this. This has been, I have a high-tech version of this and a low-tech. And I asked each of the towns, do you want me to do the charts in the easel, or do you want me to do this, and whichever one they prefer. I've been doing, so I have these charts are in the back of the truck with an easel. If they want that, that's what I do, and if not, we do the digital version.
I have a quick question about the.
Sure.
The fund balance recovery, the referendum were to pass. I know it's all projections, but how many years would you still need short-term borrowing in the fall, do you think? Would it be every year over the 4 years, or just?
Yes,
two?
me.
Yeah, we can answer that.
I'm guessing that's you.
Yeah.
A healthy fund balance for our district is the 20%. So once we reach that goal, so I see short-term borrowing for at least one more, if not 2 more years to get, but the amount of short-term borrowing will be increasing. And it all, again, depends on the timing of payroll and our payments that do come in.
But it's likely that it would keep us from having short-term borrow here.
It should if we get back up to the, 20+% for fund balance.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jason? Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, can I ask a question that I'm really sorry, I feel like not 100% here. Did we do celebrations?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Do you have something else you want to
No.
celebrate?
I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have people sitting and waiting and we forgot something, so I just felt a little, got it.
Yep. Nope.
Okay, great, sorry.
Okay. If there's no further questions from the district administrator's update, we'll go on to item B. PACT and PHS Drama Club Partnership for December production.
So I was approached at the beginning of the year about.
And you are?
I'm Rob Perkins, I'm the
Yes.
choir director, drama director, and anything else that I get asked to do. We were approached by Pittsville Area Community Theater about doing a partnership. The drama class is new this year, we're kind of finding our footing, trying to figure out what our strengths are and what directions we want to go. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to support our community theater. It would be a great opportunity to give those students who don't necessarily want to be on stage some backstage opportunities. Those students who want to be on stage, some further opportunities. It would also be able to get our kids involved with tech. And I think as we move forward with the drama classes here, that will give us the opportunity to really target some of those areas that aren't necessarily on stage. So we're excited to work with them. We have show dates on the calendar in December. I believe it's the second weekend in December. And their director is here, so I'm not 100% certain what I'm doing other than marshaling students, but we're looking forward to it. The students that I have currently are really excited about this, both for the stage opportunity and for the backstage opportunity.
Mr. Perkins, maybe you and Ms. Marshall would touch base just for the board on the drama class you're talking about, because that's a new development here in Pittsville at the high school. How many students we have participating?
Right now, we have 25 students this term, and we have been working through various drama games, looking at various production options. We've got a one-act play that we're working on. I haven't released it yet to parents and staff, but we did cut a radio drama. We did one of the Superman stories, and there's a copyright question there. I'm not sure where it sits, but we do have it cut. We have it with sound effects. And it gave, again, students a little bit different opportunity, and then a lot of them helped with the Foley and the sound effects in the background. So we've got that completed. We're working on a one-act play. It's actually a send-up of horror drama vignettes, and it's, teenagers out in a cabin in the woods, and, what happens here with this, and it's zombies, and it's silliness, and we have a great opportunity with the set pieces that we have to do a real minimal set and a real quick production if we turn around and decide to produce this. And when we throw A Christmas Carol into the mix, it's a classic play. It's, again, going to get kids involved. So we have a lot of kids involved, we have a lot of moving pieces with the class, but they're really enjoying it and they're really doing some really cool things with what we've got.
Questions? I have a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, just want to confirm that the collaborative project is going to be A Christmas Carol.
That is correct.
Okay, and it looks like the dates for that, you said the second weekend in December, which would be the 14th and 15th?
That 13th, 14th, 14th, and 15th.
Okay, 13th, okay. And my other question is, the One Act play that you're working on, is that going to be open to the community?
That would be open to the community if we get it off the ground and get it produced, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
that's-
what's the tentative timeline for that?
We've got a lot of people using the auditorium, so right now, we're either looking right at the start of December or into January, so that we cap off our semester with that.
Okay. It's great to hear that the auditorium is getting a lot of use. I think the community is happy to hear that.
The
also.
community is in there, we'll have community theater, we've got PAFA using it, our middle school is using it. Because of when band and choir meet, we have choir rehearsal, high school choir rehearsals on stage in the auditorium every day. Some of our middle level groups are able to rehearse in there because of how our schedule works right now. So we're using that facility and I just said to the sixth graders on Friday, there are a lot of colleges that get to use their auditorium as a rehearsal space. Public schools, not so much. So, and I'll be honest, when I toured Pittsville and Mr. Knott showed me the auditorium, I was absolutely astounded that we have such an amazing facility right here in central Wisconsin. So we're using it, we're putting it to good use, kids are using it, community's using it, we're excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions? Okay,
Cool.
then thank you for coming. Okay. The next item, C, is the Guiding Coalition presentation. This is Maddie and this is not.
Yep, I'm Alice Madden, Emily Matt, and we'll be just talking a little bit about what we're doing by Guiding Coalition this year. So our vision or mission is to empower staff with the tools needed to ensure learning for all. And so we're going to do a quick review of what we were working on last year, in case you don't remember. So last year's goals were focused around assessments and linking our assessments to our essential standards. And essential standards is what we were focusing on the year before. So you can see here an example from English of how they were looking at their essential standards and then looking at the assessments they were doing in assignments, so formative and summative assessments, and then making sure those were aligned to the essential standards to make sure that we were testing what we said we wanted to be teaching accurately and adequately. So that's what we spent a lot of time doing last year. So for this year, the two goals that we are focusing on, the first one, PLC teams are going to be empowered to utilize the process, to use data and evidence of student learning, to demonstrate student growth and achievement towards their standards. And this year is going to look very different from the way that it has in the past, and I'll explain that in a little bit, because there's a lot of places and moving pieces right now based on staff fluctuations that have put PLC groups in different locations, different spots. And then our second goal this year was to intentionally educate the community and the board about what we are doing on our early release time, so that at least once a month, we want to send something out so that everybody is like understanding and seeing what we're doing with this time they've been given us. along with the idea that we're going to come to the board at least 2 times to update you on how things are going. This will be the first. For example, right now, our music department has 2 brand new teachers to the district. So they may be going back to our first question about what standards are we going to be teaching, re-looking at those standards that were chosen, how are we going to accomplish this, based on where we are, what do we need to add, subtract. So they are going to be at a different spot than, for example, elementary math, who has been working on implementing bridges, and this will be their 2nd year, so they are working on evaluating, adapting, pacing, teaching strategies that they have discovered after having 1 year of working on that. So everybody's kind of in a different spot. So I think the next slide. When we have our PLC days, there's kind of a menu that the PLCs are going through. Are we working on curriculum? Do we need to work on the instruction part? Are we looking at our assessments again, adding in proficiency scales, rubrics, things like that? Are we going back to our essential standards to reassess and see if we're where we need to be? And then something that has been very exciting for the elementary, looking not just at student academic data, but looking at behavioral data, because what we've noticed is, and what everybody already knows, is if there are people that are not getting what they need and are kind of disrupting the environment, nobody's learning.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, with our slides, so it's highlighted in a couple. So these are the 4 PLC questions that we're looking at large, and as a guided coalition, thinking about how we can guide staff through centering their work around these. And so next slide, we're focusing really on number 3, which is what will we do if they haven't learned it yet? And that's where Emily here is talking about this year with under new admin that we're considering behaviors more during this time, because we know that really affects learning. So the next slide kind of goes through those plans.
Yeah. So at the elementary, on some of these PLC days, we are having some intervention meetings during this time. Not only are they going to be academic with our pullouts for reading and math, but then there's also going to be some behavioral intervention meetings if there are students or groups of students that need to be looked at for behavior intervention plans. We can come together as a staff that have that particular student, come up with that plan, and then revisit those based on the data of how our plans have worked to try to assist that student with their behavior so that their academics can follow along.
Are you meeting with the student or are you meeting about the student?
Initially, it'll be about, but eventually it will be with. They will be a part of that process.
In the same time or a separate time?
It might be a different time, but there will be, and it could be later on in that meeting, staff get together and then we bring that student or student and family in to figure out what we should do to get this student back on track.
And at the high school level, we're also looking at intentionally focusing on behaviors and academics and how they affect one another. So we have reincarnated the solutions team, which we used maybe 5+ years ago. It's been a while. But what it is, it's a way for us to identify students who are struggling for behavioral or academic reasons, and then putting together a team of teachers who is focused on making more connections with that student. Ideally, they're assigned to, well, right now we have 3 teachers that are on solutions team for this term, but 3 to 4 each term who will meet during our intervention time, our PPT block, and then discuss the students that have been recommended. And so then what that looks like is a team member, one of the 3 staff members becomes their point of contact. Ideally, it's someone who they don't have as a teacher, so that's the additional staff member keeping eyes on them. And then during PPT time, they'll go and pull the student or go talk to the student and see, what do you need? What resources do you need? How are you doing on this? So to serve as a point of contact to get them resources and also as a point of contact to make them aware that they are noticed, that we know that they're not doing well and we're watching that. So whether that's a motivation or a need, that team will be assessing that. And so I'm not gonna read over this whole thing, but it has information about our processes for emailing parents, the resources that we can provide them, like an NHS tutor or extra help Wednesdays, etc. And also how do they get off solutions team, and that would be if they're passing all their classes with a C or better. And the student or parent has expressed confidence in their ability to be successful without. What we're calling it for students, they'll hear guided study. They won't hear you're on solutions team, right? They'll hear we're putting you on guided study to support you. And so we want to make sure we don't pull away those supports if they don't feel like they're equipped to continue succeeding without them.
So, yeah, we're looking at data and we're looking at data for the whole student.
Taylor and Leslie, is there anything you guys would like to add from the administrative side?
Just started solutions team, so it's a little raw, but it's getting better each time we meet.
I would tell you, I would applaud the administration and Guiding Coalition for being flexible in this new format, because you may have heard people are in different places, but ultimately it's the same destination. It's just people are in different, spots on that destination. So we're all moving in that same direction. But I think meeting people, adults and kids where they're at is the key. So I applaud that.
I think that maybe in those monthly notifications and stuff, it'd be nice to hear some success stories. Just letting us know that how it's working out.
Yeah.
And because what I see so far is very impressive, and I think that's a great idea.
We see that. I know it's used all the time. I would also encourage that in something that, whether it's the plan someone has or anything, to consider thinking using communication versus behavior. Behavior just brings it's just such a negative connotation, even though we all have behavior, right? But it rarely gets talked about, like the great things we do. People don't say, look at that great behavior. It's usually because there's a problem. And always it's just a form of communication. And so I've just seen the success of when you focus on the communication versus that word that it changes. So and yet everyone uses it everywhere. So it's not, but just a suggestion. But it's really exciting. Thank you for what you shared.
Yeah. I think it's important for the community to understand this. When I look at the 4 PLC questions, it's like, well, duh, those are no-brainers. But I don't think, and I'm the oldest one here, I don't think they were asked when I was in school in the 70s. And what I also see as a real strength here is that high school solutions team. So truly, kids you can't escape us. We want you to succeed. And you can't put up your hood and hide. You can't, right. We're gonna do whatever we can to help you be successful.
And it's about relationships, right?
Oh, totally.
So when a student has someone that they know cares about them, everything changes. And so that's what I see when I look at that, is a group of staff that, I remember the day my daughter came home from school and said, Mom, I don't think that the teacher actually works to get a job. I think she really cares about us. I remember it as if it was yesterday. I remember that statement from my own child, and what that said was that it's all about relationships, right? And when people join something like a solutions team, it's because they care and they want to build those relationships, which is the only thing that will actually change anything into the future. So that's super cool.
And on that note, they just took a survey today for our counseling office, identifying staff that they feel connected with, and then Marissa, probably not right now, but at some point, will cross-reference, which students didn't identify any staff members that they're connected with, and how can we make sure that someone does connect with them. So it's definitely on our radar.
And we've done that building or district-wide. The students at the lower grade levels have also filled that.
During
Yep.
their counseling. I also believe that this is one of the advantages to being a small school. That,
Absolutely.
small school district of choice.
So on the data side, I will let the board know that obviously, because I attribute a lot of our academic successes to this PLC work, amongst other things. We will be bringing, you're aware the new report card came out, but is embargoed until November 17th. So we will be presenting that data at the December meeting. And there's a lot to unpack out of there, a lot of good stuff that will correlate with the work that's being done. And then in January, CISA 5 will be coming to actually do an unbiased presentation to the board of their takeaways of the data growth and the data on both report cards. So they want to come in and give you an overview from their perspective with no horse in the race. So we will be having data, like this is all important, but we need to show academic growth, so we will be presenting on that. And then we will also have the survey results. Can you just briefly talk, guys, Bodie, like that, Alex, you mentioned that survey, you identify a student doesn't connect with an adult in the building, then there's actions, steps that are taken to try to build those connections, and then this will come again later, and the hope would be that we have all students identifying at least one trusted adult that they connect with in the building.
I know
Peter?
historically, and I'm not sure, Taylor, how it's being done this year, but historically it was then a list of students who either identified like low connection or no connection was put out, and then staff kind of assigned themselves to a kid without them knowing that they were going to try to make X amount of positive contacts per month.
It's covert, it's covert.
Yeah, they don't
don't
know.
announce this to the students, it's just kind of like, so staff knows. Yes,
And the elementary is done.
because that's important.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Moving on to agenda item D, board goal number 2. Like to just talk briefly about this. Back in September, we met as a board and set 4 goals for this coming year. The first goal was to educate the public on the financial facts of the November 2024 referendum, and we're deep into that, so that's a good thing. The next goal that we identified is irrespective of how things turn out on November 5th, our second goal is to explore strategies for supplemental revenue development to fund selected district operations and begin implementation of at least one strategy during the course of the school year. I'd like to just revisit this briefly today and kind of tee it up for our November agenda. And so I just have a few things I'd like to share that I'd like board members to think about in the next month, as well as other ideas. We've already spent time talking about grant seeking to supplement some of our activities. So that's one potential strategy. We've also talked a little bit when we had that meeting back in September about establishing an education foundation. So that's a potential strategy. Another would be to implement a naming rights program for various rooms, buildings, pieces of equipment, whatever. Another would be potentially cultivating business partnerships for very specific academic programs. I think where that has been used a lot right now is in the manufacturing area, where we've had donations of equipment or cash donations. And I think there's the potential to do that not just in CTE related things, but quite frankly, English, foreign language. You know, I think there are certain business partnerships that can be forged in a whole variety of, definitely within literacy in the elementary grades. So I just wanted to throw those ideas out there. And I'd really like folks to put on their thinking caps and kind of think, you know, what's not on my list yet? And come prepared at our next board meeting to talk through some of these strategies and the feasibility of them and what are the next steps. So, thoughts, comments?
I just have one, can I add one to your list right now?
Oh,
Just so I
sure.
don't forget it. Just school-county partnerships. And Jason and I briefly explored one option around social work, but there's another option, you know, when I hear that, and I know we might be utilizing it, but when I hear that maybe we have a little extra speech, my mind goes to, oh my gosh, could the County Berkeley 3 use that? And is there a way that we could sell that to them? Like, is there a way that we could?
Other local government partnerships.
Correct, where, you know, we charge the high dollar amount like CISA charges, but we give it to, like, is there, okay, I didn't mean high dollar, just help us from a funding standpoint. Yeah. So I just didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I think for all of these things, they're usually tied to a specific program or a specific thing. You know, it's really hard to get money from the outside for what would be called general operating expenses. You know, that's gonna continue to come from the tax levy. But say, for example, even the example we gave today of the pep club, using some of their profits to do I would call a value added piece for the school district. I mean, having a backdrop isn't essential. It's not tied to learning, but it is tied to a lot of community pride and branding and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm looking forward to a really robust conversation in November. Okay. If there's no other comments or thoughts, let's move on to item E, the WRS 2025 rate increase for the employer contribution, employer and employee contribution for WRS is the Wisconsin Retirement System for those watching. So is Pam or Jason, are either of you going to talk? It is what it is.
It is what it is, right, we have no control over it, but, the state has existed again, it's currently in 2024, 6.9% for employee and for, employer, and it's going up to 6.95%, starting for the first payroll in January.
Okay, so, thank you. Going on to item 10, discussion action items. A is the Spanish trip in the summer of 2026. And it looks like we have 2 potential trips.
Yep, so actually 2 Spanish trips, except the junior high one or middle school one is not, maybe it's focused on language acquisition, maybe it's more cultural. So I'm using the same company, those of you who have been on the board for a while, that I've been using since I started. Their first trip was like, I don't know, 2015. This is for 2026 in the summer again. We'll be going to Costa Rica, if you allow us. This is a 10-day, 9-night trip. It does include a homestay. The cost is a little bit more expensive, but that's because this is I had to build a custom itinerary for Costa Rica to take us to all of the best places, in my opinion. And so the price might drop. 4125 is based on 10 students. If we have more students enroll, it drops by 100 or 200, depending on the number. But that's our highest dollar amount, and I would need at least 10 to run it because it is custom. So if we had less than that, but still over 6, I would look at a different not custom itinerary, which would likely be less days and cost a little bit less. But We had really good turnout last time, so I'm hopeful. We can flip through, go ahead, you can flip through the itinerary quick. So it involves a visit to Tortuguero National Park, which is a nesting site. We spent a couple of nights there right by the national park. Taking some boat rides in the canals there, and then hopefully seeing some sea turtles. The next day, we stay in a lodge in the rainforest. Last time we stayed there in 2015. We got to see some poison dart frogs. It was a really, really neat place. It's all boardwalks. Well, we had to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to see them at sunrise, so a lot of the students didn't get out to see them, but I saw them. And everything's up on the raised boardwalks between the rooms. It's really, really gorgeous. We'll do a chocolate tour. Then the next day we have, I think, the pineapple tour, whitewater rafting, and then we head to the volcano area, one of the volcanoes, where we'll be staying near Arenal. 2 nights here. We get to go to a hot springs water park. We also get to tour the Rio Celeste waterfall in the national park there. And then on our way back, we do a volunteer half day, I believe it is on this one. This has been included on all the trips, and really, most people are probably surprised to hear it, but once again, this last summer, that was noted as the favorite activity for so many kids. They really, really enjoy getting to see other kids and teens from somewhere else, learn about them, play with them, play some volleyball, play some soccer. They really, really love it. And then our homestay begins. We're based out of this school here on the right as the El Rancho de Español, where they have a couple of pools. And that's where we walk to meet up before we head out on the bus each day. We'll have some downtime there where we have dancing lessons and cooking lessons and some other stuff. So homestays include 2 to 3 students per home. You can kind of skip that, it's pretty standard. That was our homestay when we went in 2015. A little puppy. We have a day in San Jose where we'll get to go to the market, and we go on a coffee tour, which was excellent, and I was shaking from being over-caffeinated last time. Would not advise. And then we included a beach day. The kids in Guatemala, babies, really, really enjoyed our beach days, so I did have them add in one nice day, relaxing day on the beach. And then a travel day. So I do have a slide here about fundraising. There's the cost, and then I kind of broke down what we were able to fundraise, because I know that was a large item of discussion last time, was what we're allowed to do for fundraising. So we raised, is it on here? There we go. So last year we were able to raise $8,000 outside of school, and those are funds we were able to divide out by hours worked by students. And then we raised about $5,000 in school through concession stands. That money was spread evenly. It was used to pay for busing. And then we were also able to give students, I think $80 each, spending money out of that as well. Some of the money was retained that I had previously in the account. So last year 2 years ago, we were able to give $3,000 in scholarships. We gave, I think, 6 $500 scholarships. Right now, I have enough in the account for 3 $500 scholarships, so that's what I intend to do. And I sell bubbler out of the classroom, so I use that to fund the scholarships, and hopefully with 2 years, it does pretty good. We make pretty decent money on it, so sorry for those of you with students wasting their money on overpriced bubbler. But it's working out for the scholarships.
It's not cheap.
Yeah. Questions for me?
Questions? Okay. Okay, how about the middle school trip?
Okay. So, a little background. Last year we took the group of middle schoolers to New York. And we were planning, Michelle, Abel, and I were planning on starting to do the next trip. But then Andrea Galvan had gotten some information and was really excited about potentially taking some of the Spanish students, the students that were taking Spanish, on a trip to a Spanish-speaking country. And we thought, well, we may as well just combine those trips And so, she got together, and found a Mexico City and Yucatan Peninsula trip, that would be inviting the current 5th, 6th, and 7th grade students as they're going into 7th, 8th, and 9th, because this would be that same summer of 2026. So all of those kids would have been essentially the same population that would have been going on the other trip that we had, we're going to propose. This is a 9-day trip, that starts in Mexico City. We would fly into Mexico City, and then, the stops on the way are all on the bus. It would be a coach bus, and we would go to, a lot of, cultural locations that students learn about, for example, in social studies, that they learn about in their Spanish classes. And eventually then it would meet, the end would be Playa del Carmen, where, we would do, there is an optional, is it Tulum trip that is well worth it. It was only an extra $30, so that would be something that we would add on to this particular trip. And then that beach day in there. So with that, I don't remember if the price is at the top or the bottom of this one.
Usually the bottom.
With that one, the total trip would be $3,670, and that would be if people were to sign up by the 31st of this month. After that time, it would be an extra $200 for the trip, which is why we wanted to make sure that we could get in here. Our plan is that we're going to have a parent meeting sometime next week or perhaps the week after to discuss this. The kids have already heard a lot of the information and are very interested in this. And being that it is a more expensive trip than the one that we took last time, a lot of fundraising between now and then would happen. Many of the similar, there's a whole list of things that we had talked about doing, but that would help to offset those costs. That similar to the way that we did with the New York trip, you would, whatever they were, it would be divided amongst those that are going along the trip, knock down their costs, and hopefully by the time 2 years is out, a good chunk of the trip would be paid for. There is the extra costs would be potentially if it is, depending on the airline, they do go major airlines, but depending on whichever airline they end up eventually booking, potential baggage fees if you have to check would be an extra cost. And then another extra cost that they talk about is the tips for the bus drivers, which we would kind of include also within that initial cost of adding an extra $5 would be depending upon how many kids, that would be enough to cover those types of tips. So there's also the travel protection that if as things get closer, whether it's illness or you back out, you do get, I believe it said 75% of the trip back if you have to back out.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What would be the adult to kid ratio?
Well, that's a very good question. It's all going to depend upon, like, I know it would be myself, Andrea Galvan and Michelle Abel would be 3 staff members that would be there. I know that when we went to New York, a lot of kids brought their parents with them. It was almost a 1-to-1 ratio. I think it's just going to depend on who wants to go.
Sure.
Typically 1 to 6 is like the
Minimum.
standard travel company. Sometimes we get a 1 to 5, but typical is 1 to 6.
So, building upon what you just said, a couple additional questions. One, it's been a topic of interesting discussion throughout the years. Parents are allowed to go?
As far as this one, yes. I don't know about yours.
My travel company doesn't allow it with the homestay option and the language learning focus, it's not optimal.
Sure, and high school, very different.
Very
And I'm asking these questions because these are little,
Yeah,
they're not
these
little
are
kids,
younger
but they
kids,
feel like
right.
little kids, like,
Yeah,
and we're taking them out of the country and
Yep.
it like really kind of actually freaks me out. But, secondly, and then my third question is, if a parent isn't going and Ray shows, would there always be an adult in a hotel room with these kids?
in the room?
Yes.
No. In the vicinity, in the block of rooms, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so like when we went to New York, there was not always an adult in the hotel room,
Correct.
but we were in an area and everybody was in that area.
Sure.
So I've never done this trip before, but all of the hotels that we're in, we are in blocked rooms.
My last question is, what liability do we have? I mean, so I can set aside any of my thoughts about these being like 6th, 7th, 8th grade kids and taking them out of the country because parents are making a decision, right? Because you either send your kids, you don't send your kids. Clearly, parents can go with, so we're approving that parents can go with on this trip. So if I want my kid to go and I don't want them to go without me, I get to go with. I mean, I pay, but I get to go with. But what, when we either approve or don't approve this, what liability are we taking from a perspective of a potential, what would be the youngest, like a 12-year-old?
Well, it'd be 6 going into 7th, so yeah, 12.
to 13.
A 12-year-old getting lost in Mexico City without, like, I don't, it just kind of freaks me out, I just gotta say.
Well, I do know that
New
when
York
we were in
City-
New York, everybody was constantly
Yeah.
counting, so it's not like, I mean, and we're going together as a group. It's not like, okay, you guys go over there, you're fine wandering off on your own, I mean.
Pam, I would assume with a
Yeah.
liability waiver,
Well, these are the contract between the parent
and the.
and the company. So the contract is separate. It's still covered under student accident because it's school sponsored and school supervised. So if the student was injured, I mean, they could still file an accident claim if they
Sure.
wanted to, but as far as liability, if a child gets lost or whatever, it's the contract between the parent and the travel company.
Thank you.
So can I ask a question from the district administrator lens here to both of you? So travel advisories, when we're talking about traveling, outside the country, like talk about that to the board, just like, I'm not trying to judge, I'm just saying, obviously, some of these areas are in
If
the
you go back
news,
to,
right?
just if you scroll down so you can see the map a little bit on this one, we did look that up and Andrew looked it up. Right now, this area here has no travel advisories at all at this point in time. I can't say 2 years down the road what's going to happen, but there are none in this area here. Most of the travel advisories right now from Mexico are right here along the border in the Baja Peninsula and down in this general vicinity here.
So with that insurance that you mentioned,
Yeah.
like, so let's just throw a scenario out that in a year from now that it's like, I know we got a message from, before the Guatemala trip,
Oh,
Remember?
yes, that
the
was,
Fed sent
the alert went high.
advisory,
Right,
yeah,
right.
like an advisory thing. So let's say we get one what's the highest level it can go to? For,
That did happen.
would we get our money, would families get their money
It
back?
really is company dependent. I never traveled with Explorica, so I can't speak to them, but my company is family owned, like 4 or 5 people. When I go to our language conference in 2 weeks, they'll recognize me, they'll know who I am. This did happen. We were supposed to go to Nicaragua one year, and then there were protests and there were riots in the capital, close to where we were going to be. And this was a year out, and they said, let's just change it. Here are your other itinerary options. We're not gonna, maybe it'll calm down in a year, but let's not take any risks. So.
To be clear, I fully support these opportunities for our kids. I'm just plain devil's
That's a good
advocate.
question.
District
There
administrator.
could be a hurricane that goes next week, too.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Sure.
Well, and I feel very different about the Mexico trip if parents are allowed to go.
Yeah.
So, because then your kid, well, and you're obviously choosing if your kids are going anyways,
Yes.
so it's your choice, but.
Okay.
Yeah, like I tell my parents, Guatemala, like on Wikipedia, not great statistics, but travel companies aren't in the business of sending kids where they are engaged. That's not how you make money,
Right.
and that's not how you get teachers to sign up for your trip. So they're not ever sending you, even if the country at large isn't safe in every single area, they're never going to send you anywhere where they're safe.
Because to be clear, you have tour guides that are
Yes.
natives that are, they know these things that are making sure that.
They're 24/7 air,
Yes.
it's
Okay.
a native guide.
They're, the guides are with you
Yes.
all the
All the
time
time.
in the hotel?
Yes, in mine, sometimes they're in the hotel at night, but they're not with us in the homestay, for example, but they'll be there when we get there in the morning. But again, these families have posted, in Costa Rica, I signed our guest book and it was like 150 people, It's kind of distance for them to some degree, is hosting
yeah.
families, so.
Yeah.
They're well vetted, and in my instance, it's all vetted through like a local Spanish language school. So for example, when we were in Panama, that school serviced a lot of servicemen would come to learn Spanish. But then as a separate business, they operate organizing the homestays and organizing some of these excursions, so.
Okay. Thank
There's
you.
definitely local eyes on the ground in these trips.
Emma, you went on one, right?
Yeah.
The Guatemala one?
Yeah, it was awesome. I really liked getting to see all the kids, like, they're crazy good at soccer. Like, there was kids like half my height that were, but it was also just cool to see like the different cultures and, I mean, I like food, so eating their food, that was great. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the high school trip.
I'll make a motion to approve the Pittsville High School Spanish trip to Costa Rica scheduled for the summer of 2026.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Spanish trip to Costa Rica in the summer of 2026. Any other questions or discussion? Then let us vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I would entertain a motion to approve the middle school trip.
I'll make the motion to approve the Pittsville Middle School trip, Spanish trip to Mexico and Yucatan that's scheduled for the summer of 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the middle school trip to Mexico and Yucatan. Any other discussion or questions? If not, let's vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I just want to note that it's pretty cool that we have great staff that are willing to do this because they're giving them, I mean, I know it's a cool experience, but I also went on one of these trips and I wouldn't call it vacation. When we went to Italy and Greece, wasn't necessarily a vacation as you're counting people all the time, but it's just pretty cool that we have people committed to giving our students these amazing experiences, so thank you.
I concur. Back in the day when I was here, it was going to Sand Hills consistent. So this is something else.
The capital in Madison.
Oh, I forgot about the fourth grade trip to the capital.
Right.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Okay, moving along, item B, Lucy's Garden. We have another after the fact approval. This one is for concrete work and buildings.
And I'm assuming that all of the dollars spent have come in.
It's all been fundraised and matched. This is all the dollars are in there. All the money is in there and been raised to pay for all of this
You
stuff.
just gotta cut the check and either.
That's more, and just so you know, the reason for some of getting the consent email was they were working around when contractors were available and trying to beat the snow flying here and stuff, so.
So I'll make a motion to approve the bid from Jeff Sigalski Concrete for $12,500 for the concrete work and Haas Builders for $6,984.08. I'm so sorry, I can't hardly see. For the building structure.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bids from both of these contractors. Any other questions or discussion? Then let us vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, the third Friday count. how are we doing? I think we're down a little bit.
Yeah, we're down, and I had indicated to the board in the Friday communication, kind of breaking out what that looked like. We are down a net 2 on open enrollment in versus out. When I talk about enrollment changing, like we have two enrollments this week. Resident enrollments, like you're gonna see this fluctuate throughout the season, but we are down slightly. Pam, can you just briefly talk to the board about the resident enrollment difference between the actual, talking about like the number that we see
Oh,
that
for
shows the.
FTE for membership?
Yeah,
Yes, so, 3K child and a 4K child do not get fully funded. So even though our 4K is full day, 5 days a week, we only get funded 0.6 for every one of those children because the way the formula works yet, they haven't caught up to the times where more districts have gone to full day, 5 days a week, 4K. So we don't get our FTE count for our revenue limit for that full amount. The rest of the students are 1-to-1 for residents, so they take out, like when you count all of the enrollment, all of the open enrolled ins come out of that number, and all the open enrolled outs go into that number, so it's truly your residents in your district. They sort all the rest out and wash between open enrolled in and out in the way they pay us out in June, what our monies are, our final June 8th payment. So our FTEs, it's not a final number yet, but with summer school, we're at 504 FTEs. So we will have declining enrollment, which we had projected, we would have some declining enrollment. It's a little bit more than what we had predicted. And you only get like 1/3 of the value, so to speak, because it's averaged over 3 years.
3 years.
But like Jason said, that's 1 day in time, so now we're up 2, but we actually won't get more aid on those or be able to count those
Yes.
for this year.
And then I don't want to make assumptions with protocols. It's a 3-year rolling average on the enrollment too, to smooth out any
It is.
dips
That's,
or
yes.
large
So they'll
gains.
be in there next year, but for this year, they're not.
It shouldn't be this complicated,
It
but it really is.
It's the same.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the third Friday count.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 2024 third Friday student count of 539 actual students in attendance and 507 reported DPI for funding and revenue purposes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item D, the Start College Now applications for the spring semester. Ms. Harshaw.
All right, so again, being new, learning a little bit more about what we offer here in Pittsville, so it's great for me to kind of give this presentation. So it is a state statute that we offer early college credit now classes as well as Start College Now classes. If we teach a certain class, kids take it in Pittsville High School. If we don't, then we look at some of these other classes that we don't necessarily offer in the classroom. So an example of this would be like AP Psych. We don't offer that at the high school, but with Start College Now or ECCP, we offer that through an online platform. So we provide these opportunities to take college level courses, coursework if they meet the prerequisites and follow the process for applying on time. Again, there's deadlines for these, so our school counselor, Mr. Peterson, does a great job with getting kids, talking with families ahead of time of like, what does your future look like? I think she meets with every junior and every senior as well, to figure out what they're looking at doing, whether it's a 2-year tech school or a 4-year university, or if it's for the trade school, et cetera. So she does a really nice job of figuring out what classes to benefit students in the long run. Next slide, please. These are our numbers over the last 2.5-ish years. So as you'll notice, you'll see a huge jump in the spring of 2025. So the yellow bar graph there, that's the kids that are going to that tech school. So we have 23 courses that lead to our tech school, and then 6 courses that lead to a 4-year. The purple is our 4-year university. So our yellow again is our Start College Now classes, and our purple is our ECCP. So.
Is Start College Now all through Mid-State?
That's a great question.
Some of it's.
Yes, some of it is, some of it's
North Central.
North Central Tech. And we're also looking at possibly broadening our horizons for our new autos program with Fox Valley Tech. So Mid-State does offer the auto portion of it, but we're finding that it is a dual credit class, but then they still need to take more classes when they graduate high school. I talked to a couple dealerships that they'd rather have it go through Fox Valley Tech, and then they get their, I don't exactly know what degree it is, but then they're done. So they can get that when they're here in school, which is beneficial. So here's just the total credits. You can see the fall of 2024, the applications that were approved, and then the actual enrollment. And then this is the applications that were requested. We're up to 87 total credits from kids that are taking these classes. So you can see how many kids in the parentheses, kids that are taking those classes. You'll see psychology is a super big hit. We're actually looking at how we can incorporate that here at Pittsville High School from our school district teaching that. Currently we don't offer that to students. But being at 12, that's a very high number, numbers that we don't see, as you notice at the rest of the.
And we actually have 15 because 3 are taking at a ECCP too at the same time. So
You're
there's
right,
actually
you're
15
yes,
students.
correct. Yeah.
And obviously the advantage to offering it in-house would be.
Well, that's my,
If we had staff.
Yeah,
right, it's just my, it's my
Significant
next
savings.
question is like, the fact that, and it's awesome that we have students that want this, but just feel like from a budget standpoint, how much did we budget for and how much will this cost us?
Pam, I mean, I know statutorily we
Probably
were
put
quite,
me on the spot.
Julie did it. I get what you're asking.
Right, I mean, like,
Start
are we
college now,
$2,000 off or are we $15,000 off from what we expected? Or is
Well,
it
I
what
can
we
tell you we're
expected?
a lot off because I was not told we were having that many Start College Now. That wasn't on the radar when I did the budget in June, but I'm in the process of revising the budgets for our end of the month. So I'll get copies of all these and build it in the budget and we'll see where it's at. But typically those are anywhere from $250 to $400 a credit. So if every one of those credits, or every one of those classes are 3 credits, not all of them probably are though.
And we
You
probably
said
said
$250 per credit?
Usually
Ranges.
about $250 per credit. Veterinary medical term,
So about $15,000 more than the fall semester. And I'm guessing since we were 36 and 23, you probably based more on that range versus 83.
right, because
Yes.
spring was just due now, so I had no idea what spring was. I just basically doubled the number I had for the fall. So I know that we're short on Start College Now.
And that's what we have to do, is just kind of project out, and it's a good thing that we have kids taking it, but like, I would tell you that idea behind looking at the numbers and trying to, if we have a block open for the staff member who's allowed to teach it for dual credit, it would behoove us to do it in-house and look, because it is a considerable savings when you do that.
And currently, we have no staff that are certified to teach
No.
psychometric.
No,
we are looking at one staff member that would like to teach it, but
we have to go
needs
back.
to get certified yet.
It's pretty, honestly, Julie, I would just say this from my former position, is that they really have set the bar high for people to get that. Like, it's not as simple as just simply, it used to be you could have a master's in that area. You have to go above and beyond as a teacher to become dual credit certified. And it was frustrating because we wanted to be fiscally responsible and teach it in-house, but unless you have a staff member who is willing to go do that, you're just not able to do it logistically. So that's actually outstanding that we have. I didn't know that we have a staff member that might be willing to do that.
Yes. Which leads us to our next question, next slide here, the demand for psychology. Obviously AP Psych and having dual credit opportunities. We're gonna adjust our scheduling a little bit this year, at Pittsville. Obviously, students are gonna drive our schedule. I'm not sure if that's been done in the past. So through Skyward, which we use as a student management system, kids will go on and schedule, like, what are they required as a ninth grader, what are they required as a 10th grader, but also then picking their electives. So we're not running a class that either kids just fit because it's the 4th block class and they don't have anything else to take, but really looking at what are kids interested in taking. Because when we offer classes that maybe kids aren't interested, that's when behavior becomes an issue, challenges, because we're trying to keep kids engaged for 87 minutes doesn't always work. So again, really looking at possibly scheduling coming for the spring of 2025. So here it just gives you a brief description of the classes and what percentage of kids are planning to attend a 2 or 4 year education. So our current class of 2025, our senior class, 80% of them are planning to go to a 2 or 4 year. Last year's class, that was a little bit down, but at 65%. So.
And would I assume from those numbers, looking at the numbers of classes, that probably the percentages are towards a 2 year
Yes.
right now, that
Yes.
judging from the number of courses but I suppose it could be individual students, but is that accurate?
Yeah. And actually, going along with the psychology piece, we did have points in our school Thursday last week, something like that. And they're looking to pilot possibly having a psychology class within, and they picked Pittsville. So super exciting things happening, and hopefully we can pilot that program and have a dual credit option, so.
Curious, point or Point Marshfield?
I think Stevens Point, PwC.
Okay. No,
So-
Marshfield campus, okay.
Other question.
Yep.
And certainly, over the last couple of years, things have changed where all technical college credits transfer into 4-year schools. So my other question is the intro to psychology at the ECCP more expensive than the intro to psychology at the SCN?
Probably.
Great question.
And do we have any ability to say, can you please take it here instead? Because again, I wouldn't do that to someone, but these credits all transfer. Like it, 2 years ago, even when my kids were in, they wouldn't have transferred the same way, but they all transfer now. And so my question would be the ones that are being requested at the ECCP, does the tech offer it? And is that, could we, just trying to make the dollar stretch a little further, but still get the benefit for kids, so.
And I think what that would even go to is if we teach it in-house someday, that would cover, that would, even just giving kids an opportunity to,
I do agree, I see one of the quotes, and, just by being a parent of kids, the problem with, advanced placement class is everything results in one test. And, sometimes students just aren't, there's more to a class than one test. And so it's like everything hinges on one test. And I think that's a big deal. But if we can create that college experience and the educational learning at the least cost to us, I think that that's a really great thing to think about.
Yeah.
So if the students take this and we pay for it at college, they still have to pass the AP test to get the credits?
No.
so that would be like a dual credit class is different than the AP test. So the AP test, they have to pass one exam in the spring. Dual credit class, if they pass, let's take a senior higher, they get the credit for that. Yes.
Could we, is it not possible for us to partner with another school just to do the AP? Because we're doing these virtually. The kids are actually driving places to take those.
The AP test?
No, the AP class.
Like offering AP
At Start
classes.
College now or ECCP, you mean? Some of them are on campus, some of them are through
Right,
their
like Port Edwards taught,
the online.
and we paid Port Edwards $1,000 to share their teacher or whatever. Somehow it's cheaper, means that something we can look at.
I don't know logistically if it would work, because the students would need to drive there during the school day to take that
I mean,
class.
you could over,
but-
online, like through Zoom or something.
Sure.
And try that,
Right,
or we trade them,
That
one of
would
our
be
APs that
60.
they don't have.
Pardon?
What's the agreement,
Oh, 60.
60, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's not prohibited.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's not
Even if you like
prohibited.
found like if they needed calculus, and we could trade. or whatever.
Yep, it's absolutely, it's been done, I know that's been done. I'm not saying here in Pittsville, but I know it's been done to share staff. It happens a lot in small districts that some of them will say like, hey, listen, you run AP Psych, we'll run AP Bio, and we'll take your kids, you take our kids, so smaller
It's
districts.
safe to say another small district around here probably has a similar issue with
Yes.
APs or something they've never done.
Very, very safe to say that that's something, I think that's a great idea of talking about as we process for sustainability, is to reach out to some folks, some of these other similar sized districts. I don't know if like a Marshall or a Rapids probably is gonna say like, yeah, we need you guys, right? They're all filling, but absolutely like Coosa, Port, Auburndale, and several other districts. I think that's absolutely worth exploring.
You gotta go.
These are just some quotes from previous graduates, or current seniors. I'm not gonna go through them, but again, they just grateful for the opportunity and to take actual college classes and earn the credit, unlike some AP tests. You know, sometimes they get these credits, and it's a great way to understand how college works, and I wish they would have done a few more. So, again, getting the word out to even our younger students as they're growing up, because I think sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm taking all these core classes, when am I going to be able to take the classes that I want to take? And you know, these programs are available to them. So, eventually. And this is just right from the DTI website. Again, the source is down there if you would like to learn a little bit more. But again, it's a great, both of these opportunities for students, is great to have here at Pittsville High School. Questions?
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When is so I want these kids to get what they need, so that's not what this is about. But I really, if there was flexibility to pause on this for 2 weeks and when we meet for our second meeting in October, just to check on the ECCP, and could they take it at Midstate instead, and circling back to see if it
Like, can you still switch?
right,
Like,
and I know what I'm asking, because I also remember my own kids looking at this and going through it, and you were also trying to find, is it online or in person, and does it fit into my schedule? And like, there's a lot of coordination, but I also feel like we should make sure we're finding the most economical way to get the kids what they need. But if they have to know tonight, I would, I would have a different answer. So I just didn't know if do we have a little bit of time to answer this and approve these, or do they have to be approved tonight?
Taylor, I don't know the deadline.
I don't know either.
It's in October, I don't know if it's just they need to,
Well, they need to be enrolled in the fall semester by October 1st.
Julie, you're talking about the spring, to be clear, right?
Right, the
Yeah.
fall is already approved.
Yeah, the fall's done, we can't do anything about the fall, I'm talking about that deadline for the spring.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we have some time, I just don't know the process of.
it's in October, but it's mid-October. I mean, we gotta be pretty close to it
To
right
get
now.
approval for the
Yes.
spring semester?
Get approval for the spring, yes.
Okay, because our next board meeting would be November.
23rd.
Except for the special.
I don't know,
meeting,
you have
that's
to.
right.
But, you know, what really are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about like, $80,000, or are we talking
No, it
about
would be-
that?
400 to 500 a credit for college, the ECCP, and between
Half that.
250 and 400. I mean, it could end up being the same cost.
But there could be a savings for those courses if kids were to switch, where we would say it would be half the cost, from 400 to 200 per credit.
Okay, so total, we're talking about maybe
There's 2 kids, 6 classes, $1,200.
$1,200.
Savings probably at the most.
I understand the idea of transparency for, showing the community that we're responsive with their dollars, but I don't know if this is one.
I think too, like looking at the total credits, like 83, you're like, holy cow, but I think too, you're gonna drop some as well, like some kids are gonna choose, I mean, that's just what was requested. There will be another number, or 87 now, but there will be some that don't choose to follow what they requested.
Right.
So,
Life happens.
yeah.
I'm not sure you can switch, because it says on here that you have to register by October 1st. So if we try to take like 8 kids and
Yes.
when you pass the deadline for.
Nate took the words out of my mouth right here. It says the registration application deadline, which means to us, is October 1st for spring courses.
Yeah.
You reading that same as me, right?
Yeah. so
Right,
it's
but that's
where we-
our requirement to
No,
us.
that's theirs.
No.
That's the
Okay,
University of Wisconsin system. So I don't know if we took it out, if we took the kids that already registered and tried to register them somewhere else.
you know, is it really that? I mean, I think we can still encourage them to look at other options, but fiscally, if we're talking around $1,000 difference, I realize it's the principal thing,
At
but
least it's brought to light, so we know the next time.
Yeah, we will, along with what
Yeah.
Nate's suggestion, is it something we can look at building, like as we move into next year, we can absolutely focus on that and adding if we get certified.
I think too, with the process of how we're gonna schedule, like we'll know more in advance of what these interests are. I think the number shocked Marissa and myself, because, you know, I think, again, she does a great job with meeting with every junior, but sometimes those plans change, sometimes,
Well, it's like we say, we can approve it, but if there is time to move kids into the cheaper class, if it would still work, we can always readdress it at the next meeting, right?
yeah.
And you're not gonna write the check next week, right?
No.
Yeah, so we still could do both, I think. And so I don't see where it says in the technical one where the difference is. I know it looks like you could not switch kids into the
ECC
ECC
from that college piece, right?
Right. You might be able to switch it to the 4-year.
Right, and we're talking 5 kids in the ECCP. Or it could be even less than 5, like 6 kids, right? And it could be even less, well, I should say 6 class units. So, is there a motion to approve this, or is there a motion to table it? Don't be shy.
I'm gonna set up the vote on this one. We'll see.
You're what?
My vote.
He has a child taking class or
Is
utilizing that.
that a reason not to vote?
I think it could be, if he feels, he could abstain for that.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I think, yeah, what are your thoughts? Yes,
Okay.
don't feel bad, Emma.
Okay.
Well, I will make a motion to approve the Start College Now applications for the spring semester 2025. So those are the technical college ones as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion for technical college.
It's been moved and seconded for the Start College Now applications. Is there any further discussion on those? If not, I'll entertain a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So then we have the early college credit applications. And it appears that in terms of the number of applicants, this is applicants for 6 classes, right? It's not
6 classes.
people.
6 people.
6 people. Well, but someone could be taking both intro psychology and statistics, couldn't they? Or maybe not.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's 6 classes.
6 classes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve six students' early college credit program applications for the spring semester 2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 6 applicants for the ECCP program for spring 2025. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'd like to
Abstain?
just note it. I would like to just note that if possible, it could be looked at. Again, I want these kids to get it, but boy, if we can spend half the money, and certainly that be something that we look at to assure that the most economical way to meet kids' needs is what would get presented. I mean, I don't know what our obligation is, but I would tend to say any future that come, if you can get intro to psych at MSTC for $250 and intro to psych at the UW for $500, I'm only paying for the $250. Like it is the same credits for college. And so it's not fair to this cohort because this is after the fact of conversation and I want these kids to have it, but we really have to make sure that we're only spending the money we absolutely have to do this in the future. So I would like to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item F, the RVA 5-year renewal.
So I'm gonna share some information quickly, then I have to
Get out of
swoop to Richfield. So I actually emailed Charlie Heckel, who is the coordinator today. Had a good question from one board member who said, what does this look like for us right now? So as of today, Pittsville has 9 full-time RVA students attending. 8 are regular ed and 1 is special education. The tuition cost for those students, the way it works is this way. It's approximated between $4,500 and $5,000 per student is what they charge us for our students to go there. What's the advantage to the district? Because if they went somewhere else, we would lose all the funding. So effectively, Pittsville maintains a portion of the funding for these students while RVA assumes the education of the students. So it's fiscally responsible for the district because if they choose like a Bridges Academy, which is a virtual program through the Merrill School District, the district gets none of that money. So good partnership, there is no consortium fee, and they actually only charge us, which I didn't even know this, they charge us singleton courses for like credit recovery, $35 each only for those courses.
For credit recovery?
Yes, and I didn't even know that, which is phenomenal. So I wanted to share that with the board. This is a great partnership, and there's really no negatives to us renewing for 5 years with RVA.
And there isn't a suggested motion on here. Do you need a motion to approve this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
to approve the 5-year contract, the renewal of the contract. Yeah,
I'll
thanks,
make a
Julie.
motion to approve the 5-year commitment contract with RBA.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract renewal with RBA. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Legislative updates?
So I
You're all
know
campaigning.
Pam was in charge.
Okay.
I would say this, the one I shared with the board related to the cell phone ban, I thought was pretty interesting that they're proposing a cell phone ban in school districts as a state level would be the one thing I found of interest. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. As well as I know Jason shared some information on funding from one of the updates. So that was interesting. Any questions about under this item, legislative updates? Okay. Item 11, public comments. I don't think anyone's here left to comment, so. Future agenda items. I see we have a new policy. The new policy on reading and literacy developments updates to the promotion and retention policy for K-8, building goals, and the October 23rd special meeting for the levy certification. The other thing I would add to that future agenda item is board goal number 2 related to supplemental funding. So if you could note that, please, Pam.
Is the meeting on 23rd at 6?
The 23rd, I
Yes.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think so, yeah. Okay. If there are no further discussion on future agenda items, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Opposed?
Could we-
Oh, dodge.
Could you also look at this?
That was a serious
That would have been entertaining.
Again, it didn't.
Right.